In this video, you will learn recipes of all alcoholic beverages, from beer and wine to whiskey and absinthe. And in the second part, I will explain which drinks are more round and why the price of certain types of whiskey, brandy, or vodka can reach hundreds of dollars. Let's start with the basic stages of alcohol production. First, we need something that contains sugar. This will be the foundation of our drink. As an example, let's take grapes. We place grape juice into a container and add yeast. The yeast consumes the sugar and converts it into alcohol. This process is called fermentation, and the result of grape fermentation is wine. I want to point out that I have significantly simplified the process. There are many technological subcategories that slightly alter the flavor, which is why there are more than 70 types of wine, but that might be a topic for another video. Another example of a base material are grains. If we add hops for flavor and ferment it, we get beer. I want to note that hops do not contain sugar and serve as a kind of spice. But this raises the question, why does beer have a lower alcohol content than wine? That's because grapes contain more sugar than grains, and yeast can consume more and produce more alcohol. But these are all low alcoholic drinks. To make something stronger, we need to add distillation. This is a process where we heat the fermented liquid. Alcohol evaporates faster than the liquid. We condense and collect it, thus obtaining a more alcoholic drink that still contains the flavor of the base ingredient. We can repeat distillation multiple times, and with each stage, the alcohol content increases, while the flavor of the base ingredient diminishes. Take vodka as an example. It's made from potatoes or grain. It is distilled at least 4 times, and some brands go up to 34 times, like Purity Vodka. Then it is additionally filtered to remove any remaining flavors, and water is added to achieve the perfect 40%. By the way, 40% is the point where water and alcohol evaporate at the same rate. Another example is tequila. It's made from blue agave. We distill it twice in order to retain more of the agave flavor. Then, after adding water, we get our final drink. Another example is when we add spices. For instance, if we take grains as a base, distill it 4 times, and then infuse the resulting liquid with anise, we get Sambuca. At this point, we no longer taste the grains, but the drink has a pronounced flavor thanks to the spice. Next, we need to introduce an additional stage: the aging. This is when we take oak barrels, pour in the distilled liquid, and wait. The thing is, distilled alcohol contains several types of spirits. Some of them are quite aggressive. When we age the drink in barrels, those spirits seep through the wood, making the drink less aggressive. The drink also absorbs the flavor of the oak, which makes it smoother. But more on that in the second half of the video. So if we take grains, distill it twice or sometimes 3 times, and age it in a barrel for 5 years, we get whiskey. If we take fruit or grapes, distill them twice, and age them for 5 years, we get brandy. I should mention that there are many variations of both brandy and whiskey. They differ in base ingredients, distillation methods, and aging processes. In this explanation, we are only covering the most universal approach. Another point to note is that before being bottled, most of these drinks are diluted with water. This is because after aging, the alcohol content in the barrel is around 55%, which is not a very pleasant drink. And if you see someone drinking straight from the barrel, that's nonsense. Also, there is nothing wrong with adding ice to your drink if that's how you enjoy it. Your drink was already diluted, and a bit more water won't hurt. The next drink is Cognac. It's made strictly from a specific type of grape, distilled exactly twice and aged exclusively in oak from the Cognac region. That is why there is only one type of Cognac. Yes, it varies in aging duration, but more on that in the second half of the video. It's also worth noting that Cognac can be considered a subtype of brandy, since all the materials and technologies are exactly the same. The next drink is rum. And to be honest, the word rum doesn't mean much. Rum can be made in almost any way, as long as the base material is sugarcane. We can simply distill the fermented liquid and get white rum. We can add spices and get spiced rum. We can age it in barrels and get dark rum. If your friend says they love rum, it's like saying I love cars. But which one? BMW, Audi, Honda? Now we need to introduce another process: redistillation. This is when we take nearly pure alcohol, infuse something in it, which transfers its flavors, and then we distill it again. This is how absinthe is made. We use wormwood for that, the same method used to make gin. We infuse alcohol with juniper. Then we add an extra filtration step, making the drink clean and aromatic. These are the core technologies of the drinks we wanted to introduce today. However, this is only the first half of the knowledge. Let's dive a bit deeper into the flavor profiles of each drink and build an attractiveness chart. Our chart will be about roundness of flavor, how smooth and balanced it feels, how soft it is on the palate. We should begin with the fact that alcohol contains a large number of unpleasant spirits and oils. How well we mask or eliminate them determines how rounded the drink feels. Take wine and beer. These still contain a large amount of the original material, grapes, grains, hops, which soften the sharpness of undesirable compounds. The taste feels round and full, but when we begin to distill, we strip away the original material and expose the harsher elements of alcohol. It's worth noting that distillation is a smart process. We divide it into parts. The first drops, the head, contain volatile compounds such as methanol, acetone, and aldehydes. These are toxic and have a sharp, unpleasant smell. They must be separated and discarded. The second part, the heart or body, is what we want to keep. Pure ethanol with the aromas of the base material, grain, fruits, etc. The final part, the tail, contains heavy alcohols, oils, and furfural. These ruin the taste and can be toxic in large amounts. We waste them. So when we distill, we are actually cutting out the harshest elements. The more we distill, the more we smooth out the edges. That's why vodka distilled 34 times tastes quite smooth and pleasant. Simpler vodka or Sambuca, which are less filtered, are less rounded. At the same time, rum and tequila are some of the lowest grade spirits. They retain many harmful components. That's why rum is usually consumed in cocktails and tequila with a special ritual. Now, regarding aging, it affects alcohol in the following way. The longer the drink is aged in a barrel, the more aggressive components escape through the barrel walls. At the same time, the longer it stays in the barrel, the more it absorbs the flavor of the oak, enriching the drink with tannins. Thus, if we age whiskey or brandy for more than 12 years, we get a really uniquely smooth and flavorful drink. Meanwhile, 5-year-old whiskey is practically a trash-grade drink. It's only suitable for cocktails. Of course, there are many variations of aging, but I'll leave just 2 on our chart for simplicity. I'm not including absinthe on the chart. I honestly don't understand how to evaluate its flavor properly. At the same time, gin is quite a rounded drink. It has been distilled at least 5 times, infused with pleasant juniper notes, and filtered additionally. And that's what the overall chart looks like. That's all. By the way, the greatest expression of gratitude for me would be if you send a link of this video to a friend.